Hey, Mitch.
Keith, what is up, my guy?
What's going on? How are you?
It's Advent.
I love it.
We're screaming in towards Christmas.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving's over, the latest possible day that Thanksgiving can ever be.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's crazy this year.
Because of the fourth Thursday of the month, and the first Thursday was on the 6th. Right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Like the latest Thanksgiving could be, it snowed the other day.
It snowed the day after, 2 days after.
Yeah,
2 days after. It's
great.
here.
It's here. December's here. Advent is here. We started the first week of Advent.
The season, baby.
Yeah. So I'm super excited. We're gonna do a Christmas podcast series, an Advent series. We're gonna call it The Reason for the Season.
Clever, original.
Very original.
Don't judge us.
But we're gonna kind of flip it a little bit.
It's been a couple thousand of these. Don't think we're gonna come up with something original.
No, but I think we're gonna flip the script a little bit on the reason for the season, because I think that generally speaking, when people hear the reason for the season, they're like, yeah, Jesus is the reason for the season.
Which is true.
Which is very true. But we're gonna flip it a little bit and give some people a different perspective on it. But I want to first talk and ask you about what is one of your favorite Christmas traditions that you and your family does?
Well, you know the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation film.
Mm-hmm. Very aware.
It was big. It was big time stuff when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was a kid, like when you were a kid, there was stuff was edited for television because there's a certain standard of appropriate material that could be broadcast over the airways to be received by my analog antenna inside the attic of the home.
Yep.
So then
you had the fancy home antenna, though. We just had one that connected to the TV and wasn't that fancy.
Rabbit ears.
Yeah, the rabbit ears.
Well, you're a city kid.
Yeah, very.
We had to get that.
You had to get the.
We had to get that. I mean, that signal was coming from 100 miles away, right? Like,
yeah.
Good 50 miles, right?
To put it on top of the windmill.
Yeah, to get the signal. Anyway, city boy. What we had was they played Christmas Vacation one year on the television, edited for the television.
Mm-hmm.
And we had our VCR connected, and we hit record on the VCR.
Nice.
And then we'd
pause it for the
pause
commercial
when the commercials came on.
Yep.
And then we'd hit record again when the commercial ended with various degrees of distracted success.
Yeah.
Right? So then we had that VHS for the remainder of childhood. So then whenever we decorate the tree, so you get all the Christmas decorations out and you decorate. But when it's time to do the tree, you start the Christmas Vacation.
Wow.
Well, then I would watch just the original DVD version in adulthood, which has more inappropriate content to it.
Yeah.
But then when I had kids, I didn't want that version, and which you can't find. Like the TV edited versions of
TV,
because I don't know who those belong to, right?
Well, I think the TV station probably.
So you and I have talked about this before. If anybody out there in the internet world wants to like create a online database catalog of appropriately edited films,
this would be a great idea for Netflix.
I think it would, like a Netflix of TV edited films. Would be amazing.
You think that would be up the alley for like Disney or somebody that's supposed to be more family friendly?
Yeah, but now they have R-rated movies. Anyway. So, I found a version that's edited. So I have it on flash drive, and it lives in the back of my TV.
24/7.
365. I mean, how many flash drives do you ever need to stick in the back of your television in your living room, right?
Never.
Anyway, yada, yada, yada. We still watch as my family today when it's time to decorate the tree. Christmas Vacation plays.
I love
it. It was a childhood tradition.
Now, do you think your kids will continue that tradition?
I think they will
in perpetuity.
I think they will want to.
Yeah. It's whether or not their kids want to, right?
Whether or not their spouse will allow the continuation of. That's how spouses. That's how traditions live or die
Yeah, yeah. That's funny.
from generation to generation.
Well, we've talked about our family tradition of the week of Christmas. I think we've talked about it on the show before.
Oh, we must have. We've done 100 episodes.
The 101.
That's right.
Uh,
It's the Dalmatian episode.
if you haven't heard, we do the week of Christmas minus Christmas Day, and so like up to Christmas Eve or whatever. Everybody in the family picks one Christmas movie, and then we do a meal that is themed after that Christmas movie. So, for example, somebody always picks Home Alone, classic Christmas movie, and we get cheese pizza.
a lovely cheese pizza.
A lovely cheese pizza.
I thought you might get a. You should.
Stouffer's mac and cheese
You
with
should-
some milk.
Yeah, you should mix.
Yeah.
It, you should mix it up and
Yeah.
get a TV dinner. Are these things any good?
We thought about that, but usually we save Home Alone for the last one because it's just easy right before Christmas to just not cook something, just to get a pizza, So that's usually that one. I always pick Die Hard because it is a classic Christmas movie. If you disagree that Die Hard is not a classic Christmas movie, then please feel free to keep it to yourself. If you do agree that it is a classic movie, go ahead and put it in the comments, like this show right
All
now.
right.
But
Any Nightmare Before
Yeah.
Christmas? Anybody
no,
choose that one? Is that a Christmas movie or
it's
Halloween
usually,
movie?
It's usually we classify that as a Christmas movie. It's usually by the way, for Die Hard we do appetizers,
Hors
some sort
d'oeuvres.
of- yeah,
Metaphors.
horse d'oeuvres, as my family used to say. We do usually somebody pick. Let's see, Home Alone, Die Hard. Then you've got the Grinch Who Stole Christmas. Usually, in the past, it's been the animated version, but recently we did the last year we did the was it Jim Carrey that did the live
action one.
so they picked that one. Oh gosh, now I'm
Elf.
Elf. Oh, totally.
And
Totally
do you
Elf.
do-
We do pancakes for
Okay, I thought you
Um,
might do pasta with maple syrup.
maple syrup. No, we do breakfast with Elf. And anyway, so it's a fun time. It really is. The kids really enjoy it. I also say that we will also, now this isn't every year is maybe a little bit different on this, but we'll do a night where we go out in December as a family and eat out. We don't eat out very often, especially sit down restaurant, maybe once or twice a year. And so we'll go out, we'll go shopping. Sometimes we'll go down on the plaza, do a little shopping, stop at Jack Stack down there, one of our favorite barbecue joints, or we'll do like the Zona Rosa and go to Smokehouse and have a nice meal together as a family. So we do that as well, which I think is great. I mean, we don't really shop for anything. It's not like we're doing a Christmas trip. We'll go buy all of our gifts or whatever, but it's just kind of a nice, especially the plazas, the lights and all that kind of stuff. So we do that as well, which is super fun. Now,
We eat copious amounts of puppy chow.
oh, nice.
So
With the tree as well, so you get like dirty fingers.
no, so that
Just in
doesn't
general.
start until after Thanksgiving. Sometimes the tree goes up before.
Our tree always goes up before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, our tree was up. Our tree's been up for a minute, but yeah, the puppy chow we didn't. First batch is almost gone.
Nice.
It's
Nice. I'm a Chex Mix fan.
you just can't really calorie load as heavily with Chex Mix as
No,
you can
that's the
puppy
point.
chow.
That's
like
the point.
it is. It's intense.
So we mentioned that our kind of series is the reason for the season, and I want to flip it for everybody, and I want to get your perspective on this. that of course Jesus is the reason for the season, but Jesus came for us, right? He came to save us from our sins, and to reconcile us and God together. Um, and so really aren't we the reason for the season? Because without us and without the need for that reconciliation with God, God wouldn't have had to send himself, Jesus, down to reconcile with us. So in essence, isn't the reason for the season really us?
Fascinating.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think I have to agree
You have to?
because that's the premise of the show. This is the
We
one
don't have to agree all the time.
Well, I mean, we're going to start off our second round of 100 episodes with me actually agreeing with you.
Oh, yay.
But yeah, it's an interesting paradigm shift to the view of, the thing behind the thing, right?
Mhm.
Like, if it wasn't for our broken, sinful nature that necessitates saving, rescuing, a rescuer, a redeemer, doesn't. If it wasn't for our requiring a redeemer, then there's no reason for a redeemer to come.
Right.
So yeah, we are shamefully the reason,
Shamefully.
the reason for the season, the reason for God's intervention in our sinful nature and lives with giving us Christ as a redeemer and the Holy Spirit to work through us in that redemption. Then without our brokenness, that wouldn't be necessary.
So how does that change your perspective then on Christmas itself, right? Like, for me, when I look through the lens of coming on Christmas Eve and the lights and the trees and the gifts and the presents and the family time, and in the past it was all for me like a representation of celebrating Jesus's birth in a similar manner that he was celebrated, right? Like, three wise men came and gave him gifts, right? So we give gifts to other people to be a blessing to other people. So all that stuff is in the past. My perspective is this is how we celebrate or give recognition to the birth of Christ. But how does that change your perspective now on some of the things that you do, some of the traditions that you do, or that we do as a society, if really we're the reason for the season? Anything you wouldn't do now that you do, or does it give you a different vantage point on what traditions and stuff that you hold now?
Well, I'd say probably very few of our holiday season traditions are shaped outside of just kind of cultural context of a time and place in which we live, right? Like you and I have talked about this before, like this concept of snowing and sledding, like this is all like
Norman Rockwell,
mass media,
Rockwellian,
printed materials.
Because it doesn't snow in Miami.
No, right? And so it's very at the epicenter of when mass distribution of materials and kind of groupthink in our country was created and was able to be dispersed rapidly by wire and rail, and we got these shared imageries, right? So most of that is pretty modern in that shared history and tradition, in big air quotes. is pretty modern, even though it seems like it's been forever. Um, it's really modern in the history of.
Yeah, but you have traditions. We just talked about two traditions that our families do have that aren't really necessarily around the Rockwellian
But they are.
imagery. I mean, I
All
guess they
those
are a little
movies
bit.
are based off of it. It's all
Die Hard's based off.
it's all based off of it. It's all attached to
Yeah.
the cultural Christmasness, not a celebration of the birth of God's plan for offering us a restored relationship with Him. Like,
So
that's not.
do you think then the tradition of going to church on Christmas Eve, right? You and I probably know a few families that only come to Christmas on Christmas Eve. I know some people in my world that would not normally go to a church, that would not when they go on Christmas Eve. That's like their big thing. But they don't have a church, right? They just pick a church and go to it on Christmas Eve. Is that also, do you think, a cultural shift, or you think that there's something like the culture,
driver
behind it is this movie, kind of, oh, we go to church on Christmas Eve? Or do you think that it's deeper than that, and it actually is a tradition that has been held for generations, and they're still just doing that tradition?
Yeah, it could be either.
I'll go either way on that.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, I think that for me, we could do whatever we want to do whenever we want to do it, right? So like my neighbor, for example, never decorates for any holiday, right? Like, just doesn't decorate at all. Doesn't put lights up, doesn't put a tree up. And when I ask him, because I always joke like, hey, one of these days I'm going to come over there and decorate it for you, right? And he's like, look, I had kids. It was fun for them. We did it all those years. They moved out. I ain't got the time. Like, I don't got the energy to do it, right?
Okay.
So for him, it's not a important tradition, right? Like, to him, putting up lights and a Christmas tree and all that kind of stuff is like whatever.
Well, if we want to just really peel the layers back on onions here, Keith.
Let's do it.
Well, there's a lot of personality stuff at play here,
Yes, I agree.
right?
Yep.
So for some people, a tradition must be done, and the thing isn't the thing
Unless
until
you do
the
it.
thing is done,
Sure.
right? It's not the holiday. It's not, right? It's a qualifier for it. The tradition has to happen of fill in the blank, right?
Right. Taking the family station wagon to go chop down the tree that we're going to put in our living room.
It has to be
Right.
not-
Whatever it is.
yeah,
It's not Christmas unless we go and get our tree ourselves.
yeah.
Can't have an artificial tree.
And I am the opposite.
So if one year
You could do
your family was like, we should not watch Christmas Vacation.
yeah.
when we
Let's
put up
just
the
do
tree,"
something completely different.
you would be okay with it.
Yes.
You would be like, this sounds, what are we going to do instead? Let's do it.
Mix it up
Oh, interesting. Because we listen to Christmas music when we do
because
ours.
it's all about. Life is about relationship, not about the stuff and things.
Oh, sure.
So, and when you boil that way down, I could say, well, you could have a shared experience relationship if your family was just spread out across the globe and you had this tradition of watching the same film, right?
mhm.
You could be like, all right,
Everybody Friday night, 7
Friday
p.m.
night, 7 p.m., get your tree and get your copy of the movie, and we'll do it even though we're not together.
Yeah,
We'll have
take
these
selfies and
we'll have these great memories
yeah.
of, we'll have this shared human experience.
Mhm,
Great.
mhm.
Wonderful. Right?
Yeah.
But then if you're all together having being relational, then you don't necessarily then it's not, you don't have to force in some additional thing, you could make it new and change it and be different, because the important part is you're doing it together and having that shared experience.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
I wonder if 200 years ago.
But see, that's me.
That's you.
Personality speaking.
See, I'm on the camp of I loathe walking around the plaza, going into shops and staring at stuff. Like that's not a good time for me, right? But I love to do it with the family around Christmas time, because we're together as a family, and we're doing something that isn't as it hasn't been a family tradition in the past. It's not like my parents did it and my parents before them did it, but it's just something that we've developed over the years. And so for me, I look forward to that, right? And to your point, if we didn't do it one year, I wouldn't be upset, right? Like I wouldn't be crazy upset about it. Or if, our movie and dinner night or whatever, if we just had so much stuff going on in December that we had to not do one night or whatever. I'm not brokenhearted about it, right? I think that's kind of to your point. Like it's not a deeply held tradition. But, at the same time, I like to do it, Um, I want to flip a little bit to like a different question, and I'm gonna say something maybe controversial.
Oh, good. Because I just said traditions don't matter.
Yeah, I'm gonna say something
let's
controversial.
Hear your controversial.
If you're out there this holiday season, and you go out to eat, when we go out to eat for our 1-2 times a year, right, as a family,
I go out to eat once or twice a week.
Well, that's you, and that's what you got. I love to cook, and that's why we don't go out and eat. But anyway, when we go out to eat as a family, guess what I do, especially during the Christmas season? When we get that bill from that waiter, guess what I do?
You're right. Jesus loves you, and you don't tip.
I give a giant tip, and I say nothing about Jesus. Right? Okay. I remember this one time.
You should do both. You should leave a giant tip and write Jesus loves you.
Maybe I'll do that. I remember one year we only had Penny, our oldest, and she was staying this was back in Christmas Eve. Her parents always had this big party. They still do, but we just don't attend because we just got too much stuff going on. I have this big party. We're going to be back there in 6 hours anyways, right? We're Penny fell asleep on the couch. Or she's spending the night, So Sean and I went home, got 5 hours of sleep, got up and was like, you know what, let's go get breakfast, right? I can't remember if it was Perkins or Denny's or some place was open, right? And we went in and we had breakfast and we left a monster tip. I mean, I think we left $100 or something, right? Because you got to work on Christmas, right? I mean, that's terrible. I waited tables in my youth to get through college and a little bit pre-college in high school, and I can't tell you the amount of people that will talk to you about Jesus and give you a terrible tip. Okay. So with this in mind, I wanna say this. If your deep held belief that the world is better because of Jesus, right? If the world is better off because Jesus came here to redeem us all, shouldn't the world be better off because of Jesus's followers?
It's a resounding yes, it should.
It should. But is it?
I think it is. Is it? Are we living into our potential as Jesus followers?
There you go.
No.
Yeah.
But is it better off? Yes.
That's it. Just yes.
Yes.
I think the world is better off in a lot of cases and a lot of reasons. Some of the largest children's hospitals, some of the largest hospitals are religious-based organizations, right? you can go on and on about all the charities and stuff that are
And you could just
started
get
from a
microcosm
church or
about
whatever.
it,
And you can get super micro
I
about your
am,
own area.
I firmly believe the grace offered to me for all my wretchedness is reflected out to others, and to offer more grace for those who are wretched towards me. And
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like we're called to forgive, and we're called to fill others with hope and be peaceful and have patience and kindness. And because that's been offered and shared to me, I make it a point to offer and share that back out into the world.
Mhm.
And I think Christ is a reason for a lot of selfless acts. And I think without without my Christian worldview, I would be a more selfish person.
Mm.
And without a shared Christian worldview, there would be, in general, more selfish people having more self-centered acts.
Yeah.
And the more self-centered acts there are, that means by default there are less selfless acts.
Mm.
And therefore creates a more self-serving world, not a Christ-serving world.
Yeah, but I feel like this, and we could disagree on this potentially. And maybe every generation has felt this way. Like everybody throughout history has felt this way. But I feel like
kids these days.
I feel like we are a less forgiving society today, and a more selfish society today than we were 20, 30, 40 years ago. Right? Like I just and maybe that's just, again, every generation's felt that way. Every people that lived in every decade has felt that way. But I just some of the advertisements and some of the mentalities that I face on a daily basis, right, is just insane. And maybe we're just more aware of it today with the influence of social media and cell phones everywhere, and you can record stuff and then show people stuff. And
but it's affluence. It's affluence. It's when all your basic survival needs are easily and quickly met at a very low baseline in the kind of culture and community in which you live, that leaves a lot of bandwidth for all sorts of other decision making. Usually with where morality comes into play, generosity, philanthropy, like all these things are an option because of the affluence of the world and community in which we live. For the overwhelming majority of us, percentage wise, all basic needs are met. We're farther up. There's a larger percentage of the population farther up Maslow's hierarchy of needs pyramid than there ever has been, globally speaking, percentage-wise.
Right, and I think we should pause for a moment, because I think some people might listen to that and be like, "Well, there's a lot of poor people out there."
Of course.
But what you're really trying to say is, as a society, we're not we're not out 6 hours a day trying to hunt for our next meal, trying to find that deer to feed the family, right? Like there's
And there
structures and systems in place
and
that's,
there are people
you know,
doing that.
and
I'm
there
saying
are, but
percentage wise,
we're better off today than we were
that's
2,000 years ago,
pure
3,000 years ago,
pure
4,000
assumption.
years. Right. That's
Pure assumption.
I think
don't
that's
have,
probably a
I don't
decent
have
assumption in the
any,
U.S. at least.
any anthropological evidence to support and back that up. If you would like me to go do that and cite it APA style, I can. But
we're just laymen here on this show.
yeah, no,
we're
joke.
just making some assumptions. And you know what they say about people that assume.
Yep. Me and you, buddy.
Me and you. So we're out of time.
We are out of time.
It was good thing we're out of time when we're just making some assumptions here
because
at the
this
end.
train could totally go off the rails.
I think that I want to leave everybody with a thought process that if we are the reason for the season, and we are the reason for the season because Jesus came for us, realize that Jesus came for all of us, not just for you, and to bless others how you have been blessed by God. And that is the way to show people Christ's love, is through you, right? And I think sometimes we as Christians think, well, if I can just introduce somebody to God, if I can just, here, I'm going to give you this card or invite you to service or whatever. And all that stuff is good. But you are the reflection of what you're trying to show people, and to be that reflection on a daily, hourly basis. Will we mess up? Yes. But try to do good more than you do evil.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the goal, at least, right?
Sounds good, buddy.
All right, later.
Bye.